Welcome back to Star Wars Shovelware, my name's Luke, and today on the channel we're going to be taking a look at Slipstream on the Nintendo Switch, a retro-styled racing game heavily inspired by racing titles of the 80s and 90s, especially things like the Outrun series, but this one puts a bit of a modern spin on the old classics, adding a few additional mechanics into the mix. Now, I played a lot of Road Rash back in the day, and so was excited to give this one a try. So let's get on into this review, take a look at what's what, and as always make sure to like and subscribe if you enjoy my content and want to see more. So story-wise, there really isn't any here, and Slipstream is very much focused on being an arcade racer and not much else. Now, the game does have a rival system in it, which sees you facing off against other drivers, each of which have their own little lines of dialogue when you encounter them, and the game's tracks cover a wide variety of locations, so I do feel like there would have been room to implement some sort of storyline with this one. There maybe could have been some sort of around the world championship race which you could partake in as the different characters, with each having different endings, but sadly there's nothing of the sort, and so there's not much else to say here, so let's just move on to the gameplay. So upon first starting the game, you're given the option to play through a tutorial, and I highly suggest you do, as despite the control scheme being very simple in the game, there are a few different mechanics for you to learn which you're going to want to know before moving on to actual races. Now, the first of these mechanics is the drifting, which you're definitely going to need to master as you'll be using it in every single course, and this is performed by releasing your A button, which is used to accelerate, tapping your B button, which is your brakes, and then once again accelerating, and this will send you into a slide which can be controlled by pressing or releasing the D-pad in whatever direction you make in a turn. Getting used to performing multiple drifts in quick succession is going to be key to winning races in Slipstream, and the game has two different drift modes. Manual, which lets you control your own speed and angle, and automatic, which I presume controls them for you, though I always just stuck to manual. Now, the second mechanic you're going to be using extensively throughout your time playing is the slipstream mechanics, and if you played other modern races which feature this, it operates in a similar manner, whereby basically driving behind another vehicle will build a slipstream meter, increasing your speed and acceleration, though taking any kind of knock will also deactivate this. Now, the final mechanic is one you'll recognise if you've played the Grid or Forza games, and that is the rewind mechanic, which allows you to rewind time by up to 5 seconds. If, like me, you're a horrendous driver who constantly smashes into walls, this proves invaluable for correcting those mistakes. But be warned, as soon as you release your rewind button, your whole 5 seconds are used up and you'll need to recharge it, and several times I accidentally tapped the button and lost it. Now, Slipstream contains both single player and offline multiplayer modes for up to 4 players, and there's a reasonable amount of variety to the game modes within them. These include single race mode, which lets you play a single race on any of the game's 16 tracks, Cannonball mode, which allows you to select a series of tracks to race on, and Battle Royale mode, whereby the player in last place gets eliminated at the end of each lap, and there's also a Grand Prix mode similar to Mario Kart's Cups, which sees you competing in a series of 5 different races with points awarded to racers, and this mode also has optional car customization, whereby instead of using one of the 5 stock cars with the default attributes, you also earn money from races which can be used to upgrade them. The main single player mode though in Slipstream is called Grand Tour mode, which once again sees you racing through 5 different tracks, but in each of them you'll face off against a rival which you must beat to progress onward, and at the end of the track you'll then get to select your next destination, with the game seamlessly transitioning from one track to another, and I thought this was a really cool feature. Now, when it comes to the actual racing, for the most part it's pretty solid stuff. The drifting mechanics take a bit of getting used to, and you most definitely need to learn the track layouts in this one due to the way in which the visuals affect your ability to see round corners and over hills, but the developer has done a great job of capturing that classic 80s racer feel, and the additional mechanics don't feel at all out of place. Where I will say the racing falters a little bit though is with its difficulty, because even if you're racing really well and smashing it in pole position, one little mistake can send you tumbling, and when you fall behind your opponents, it's incredibly difficult to catch up. Now the game does come with 3 different difficulty settings which modify your opponent's top speeds, but even on normal difficulty I often struggle to keep up, and when I played the Battle Royale elimination game mode, which for some reason starts you miles behind everyone else, I couldn't even catch up to the first opponent despite me racing without a crash, and so I was eliminated after the first lap. Now despite these issues, the game is still a joy to play, and I'm sure with enough practice I'd be able to keep up with the normal difficulty races. What I'm not entirely sure of, however, is how much replayability the game has in the long run, as after about an hour or 2 I'd seen and raced through all of the tracks, used all of the cars, and I'd played each and every game mode on offer. Personally, I like to have something to work towards in games, be that new tracks or new cars and customization options, and while the game does contain 4 hidden tracks, it seems the only other kind of progression comes in the form of trophies earned from completing specific achievements. The game does record your race and lap timings, though there doesn't appear to be any kind of online leaderboards, and so I'd say where the real replayability comes in with this one is with its multiplayer mode. Though again this is only local multiplayer, and so only good if you can get a bunch of mates around. All in all though, Slipstream is a solid little racing game, and I feel it really achieves what it sets out to do, which is recapturing the feel of those classic races, but bringing them to a modern day audience. Its downfall however lies in the lack of any meaningful progression, and while admittedly it is a lot of fun to start with, I'm just not too sure how it will hold up in the long run. So the visuals and audio then are definitely one of Slipstream's strong points, and the game uses a custom game engine to really capture the look and feel of those late 80s, early 90s racers. Each of the game's levels have their own unique visual style which sets them apart from one another, though just like the classic races you'll see plenty of repeated sprite usage, and while there are 5 different cars to choose from, each of which offers a little visual variety, it would have been cool if there had been some level of customization with them, but this is only a minor criticism. When it comes to the audio, sound effects wise things are kept pretty limited here, but they all sound decent, but I absolutely love 80s synthwave, and in this regard the game didn't disappoint. There's a nice selection of synth tracks here, from high tempo bangers to mellow chill out tracks, and they were definitely a highlight for me. So on the performance side of things, no real issues with this one. I didn't notice any frame rate drops, and the game runs solid on the Switch. Issues wise, gameplay is solid and the controls are tight, though like I said it's a pretty challenging game, even on normal mode. The big thing for me though is the progression, or lack thereof in this case, and though Slipstream is first and foremost an arcade racer, I still feel it's missing that special something to keep players coming back for more, and I feel that some kind of career mode or even just an online leaderboard would have really helped in this regard. Despite these deficiencies though, the game is still a lot of fun, and I can see it being an absolute blast in 4-player split screen mode when everyone's just as bad as me at racing. And so when it comes to my own personal rating with this one, I'm going to be giving Slipstream 4 out of 5 stars. If you're looking to recapture your youth and re-experience a classic era of racing games, then look no further than Slipstream, though I would advise that you come prepared for a challenge. And so that about does it for this review of Slipstream on the Nintendo Switch. Make sure to hit that like button if it helped you out. Let me know your thoughts and opinions on the game and whether you're going to be picking it up in the comments section below. And as always, if you've not yet subscribed to the channel but enjoy my content, then please consider doing so. For now though, I just want to thank you all once again for watching, and until next time, take care of yourselves and game on.